What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the JDW Sports Talk Show, and welcome to Hot Take Tuesday. Episode 34 of Season 2 is officially here. I'm pumped up. I'm excited. We have seven, I don't know why I just put five up, but we have seven hot takes from our Discord server. If you'd like to be featured in the future, make sure to join that Discord. And every Tuesday when I ask for a hot take, you put your hot take down. You get a chance to be featured in the video. And the last Hot Take Tuesday episode of every month, we do a giveaway. So with that all said, let's get into the video. So the first hot take is from Goat Sports Productions. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers upset the Philadelphia Eagles. So at this point, would this really be considered an upset? Would the Buccaneers beating the Eagles really be considered an upset at this point? I'm not really sure. I think more than half of the football world are picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I don't blame them. The way the Eagles have finished the season, they've lost, 5 of their last 6 or something like that. They got beat up pretty good by the Giants. They lost to the Seahawks. They lost to the Cardinals. They're just not looking like a very good football team. And the spiral downwards really started against the Niners. He got smoked by the Niners. He got smoked by the Cowboys. And then everything was just kind of downhill from there on. It was bad, really bad. And the Buccaneers, on the other hand, they've been a pretty good football team. They when they're on, when they're one of the better teams in the league. They not okay. When the Buccaneers are playing really well, it's when their defense is not blowing coverages. It's when Baker Mayfield is playing well. He's not throwing the ball over. He's playing well. He's being accurate. He's making good decisions. And typically, that Buccaneers team has been there more than the other one, and the other team is, the defense is blowing coverages all day long. The offense, Baker Mayfield is mistake prone. But the way that this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team is built, their defense is actually very similar to how the Giants defense is. They like their man, Todd Bowles likes his man coverages. He likes the blitz. He's gonna force your receivers to beat him one-on-one. And arguably the Eagles secondary is the Buccaneers secondary is much more experienced. It's a little better than the Giants because of the experience. You have Antoine Winfield Jr. Would not be shocked if Antoine Winfield Jr. got 1 or 2 picks in this game. That dude literally stayed like 2 games for the Bucs this year. But the Bucs just beating the Panthers 9-0. Then that was pretty tough. There were a couple of plays in that game. You're like, come on, man. But they were close to losing that one. And it's not like they really dominated that football game. They struggled, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers upsetting the Philadelphia Eagles, so it's really going to take a bad Buccaneers team to lose this game, especially the way the Eagles have played. But I also want to mention something. Since it's later in the season, it seemed like Dallas was going to take the division as it is now. Losing the Cardinals. I don't think that Giants game was as bad as it seemed because I don't think they were showing their cards. I don't think they were showing everything. But then again, what were they doing the previous weeks when they lost and they let Dallas leapfrog them for the first place in the NFC East? What happened then? What happened versus Dallas? What happened versus San Fran? 2 of some of the best teams in the NFL. You're trying your best. You're putting everything out there, and you got killed. You got dominated by both of them. And then you just went down in a down spiral from there on. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers upsetting the Eagles. What's going to have to happen? The Bucs defense is going to have to play like it's good version. If the Bucs defense that shows up is the one that's blowing coverages, the Bucs defense that's not good against a run, they're just not playing well. That's the Bucs team that's going to lose. You could kind of say that, but Baker Mayfield has been playing really well. And the Eagles' defense has not been playing real well at all. It's been one of the worst in the league. And now they're going up against a clutch Baker Mayfield with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. But I just think that the Eagles are going to win this one just because of their talent, because they have a little bit more superstar power. And I think that's why they're going to win this football game. So I'm going to go warm and say it's a little unlikely. I'm just, saying that, maybe the Eagles haven't shown their full hand the last couple weeks here, but now they're ready. Now the Eagles want to show their full hand. Now, I think the Eagles are going to do what they do best here. I think they're going to pound the football. They're going to shorten this game as much as they can, get out of here as soon as possible, and get their playoff win, because next week they're not winning. Whether they play the Cowboys and the Niners, they aren't winning. They aren't winning next week. So, but I do think the Eagles are going to beat the Buccaneers, and I know the Eagles are on a downward trajectory, and the Bucs are on an upwards trajectory, and Jalen Hurts hasn't looked good, and it's kind of been the complete opposite between these two teams. But I'm taking the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to get it done. I think they're going to find a way. Maybe Baker Mayfield turns the ball over once or twice, and that's different. Maybe he fumbles, maybe he throws a pick, but that one turnover can be the big difference, because Philly, they can just pound that football. And, while they struggled with that a little bit lately, I think they're going to be able to pick it back up here in the playoffs and win this football game and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I'm going to go warm and say it's a little unlikely, but I'm still sticking with just the better football team on paper. I think they're going to find a way to get it done in the first round of the playoffs, so I'm going to go warm. Next up, you have from Bafoonish. Jalen Hurts throws 2 picks and less than 200 passing yards. So like I was just mentioning, so actually we do have quite a bit of Eagles and Buccaneers hot takes here, so we're going to talk about them, majority of the video. But Jalen Hurts throwing 2 picks and less than 200 yards. I think the 2 picks is very possible, because that Buccaneers defense is very experienced. You have Carlton Davis. You have some really good playmakers. Antoine Winfield Jr., one of the best safeties in the league. If not, he is one of the best. I think Kyle Hamilton might have himself as the best right now. Definitely earned. But Antoine Winfield Jr. has been awesome. He's been nothing short of great, nothing short of all-pro caliber. It was kind of ridiculous he didn't get into the Pro Bowl. The Pro Bowl is kind of a joke with the voting and such, because fans vote, and it's whoever the fans see as fit, and if that's who they vote for, that's who's gonna make it. But kind of ridiculous that Antoine Winfield didn't make it. But I could see Antoine Winfield getting one, and I could see maybe one of those corners getting one, and then you don't even know if the Eagles receivers are going to be fully healthy. A.J. Brown went down holding his knee, and they said he's fine. He'll be okay. And then Devontae Smith, he's been in and out. Well, what's going to go on with him? They eventually just rested their starters in that Giants game, but now you're coming back to play a Bucs defense that has either been really good or really bad. And either way, I think Hurts is going to throw for 2 picks. Less than 200 passing yards, it depends. I think Hurts will barely get over 200, and that is because I think the Eagles, the way they're going to win this football game is they're going to pound that football. They're going to get back to what they do best, and it's not going to get them far. It's not going to get them far into the playoffs, but I think it's going to get them past the first round, and more, just enough to get past the Buccaneers. But, if it's a one-score game, and you give Baker Mayfield the ball with a minute and a half left with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, I think Baker Mayfield's going to do it. I think the Bucs are going to win. So the Eagles have to run the football. They have to suffocate them. They have to get up early. If the Eagles don't get up early, it could be a long day. But saying Hurts is going to throw 2 picks. 2 picks, I'm going to go cool. I'm going to say that's pretty likely. There's a good chance that happens. Less than 200 passing yards, I'm going to go warm. I'm going to say that's a little unlikely. But both, I'm going to go warm. I'm going to say it's unlikely that he throws 2 picks and goes less than 200 passing yards versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Next up on the hot takes, Bucs from SilverSabs. Bucs have 500-plus yards of offense against the Eagles in the wild card. So, if this turns into a shootout, this can easily turn into a 500-plus outing for this Bucs offense. But my issue with that is the Eagles, what do the Eagles like to do? They like to run the football. And they're going to run the football. They're going to shorten the game. They're going to limit the possessions. And that's why I don't think the Bucs are going to get 500. Even if they win the football game, even if the offense has a really strong outing, are they really going to rush for at least 150 yards and 350 passing yards? I don't know. That's going to be tough to do. You would at the very least have to get that on each end of passing and running, unless you get more on passing or less on running, more on running, less on passing. But Bucs getting 500 yards of offense, I'm gonna go hot. I'm not gonna go piping hot because it's possible the way the Eagles defense is playing. You're playing some really good receivers, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Cade Otton is very underrated too. He's a nice blocker. He's a nice pass catcher. I like him. And Rachaad White, man, I don't think anyone's talking about Rachaad White enough. Rachaad White has been a very good running back for the Buccaneers. He runs the ball well. He catches the ball really well. He makes people miss. He doesn't go down on first contact a lot. I really like Rachaad White and the jump that he made this year in his game. Just really overshadowed by the fact of the Bucs not really being, in the spotlight, I guess you could say. But the Buccaneers having 500 plus yards of offense against the Eagles in the wild card, I'm going to go hot just because I think the Eagles are going to, like I've said a couple of times already, they're going to pound that football. They're going to shorten this game, and that's why the Eagles are going to win this football game. That's why the Buccaneers won't be able to get 500 plus yards of offense unless the Eagles defense literally just breaks the heck down. But like I said, I still think they're hiding some of their cards. They weren't showing their full hand on defense either. Just don't want to show everything off, and this is when it really matters. This is when it's really time to buckle down. But I do have the Bucs winning. I'm gonna say the Bucs don't get 500 plus yards of offense. I'm going hot. I'm gonna go piping because the possibility is definitely there. It depends on what Bucs offense you get and what kind of Eagles defense you get. Very, very, very unlikely, but I'm not gonna go and say it's just not possible by going piping hot. Next up from Quackmeistr. Baker Mayfield throws for 350 plus yards and 3 TDs in a win. So, Baker Mayfield, another one with Baker Mayfield, the Bucs and Eagles game. So, like I've said, it depends on what Eagles secondary shows up, what Eagles defense shows up. Is that Eagles defense going to get pressure on Baker Mayfield? Although Baker Mayfield's been good all year. He's been good all year. He's been really good. He's been impressive. He kind of is having a career resurgence in Tampa Bay. But him throwing for 350 plus yards and 3 touchdowns in a win is absolutely possible, especially the way the Eagles defense is played. But once again, it's kind of like the same thing for me. I think the Eagles are just going to run the football so much. They're going to pound the football. They're going to play small ball. They're going to try and get the little things right. And it's going to take a lot of time with the clouds. It's going to limit possessions. It's going to take a lot of possessions away from the Bucs. Not going to have as many chances. So that's why I'm gonna go hot with this one. I'm actually gonna go hot, even if Baker Mayfield, even if they do win, I think the most Baker Mayfield will throw in this game is 300. But the way that Eagles defense is played, you never know. But like I've said many times already in this video, it's getting a little repetitive. I forgot what I was gonna say now, but it depends on what Eagles defense you get. It depends on what offense you get. It depends if the Eagles defensive line is going to show up strong, which they have been all season long, but the secondary's been very bad. Very, very bad. But I'm going to say hot. I'm going to say it doesn't happen. Maybe the 3 touchdowns I think the 3 touchdowns may be a little more possible than 350 plus passing yards. In the win, I say 3 touchdowns in a win. I think that's very possible. I think 350 passing yards is a little much, but I think Baker Mayfield can absolutely put the game on his shoulders, win. I'm just gonna go hot because it is a lot in a game that could be pretty low scoring because the Bucs offense can be sloppy. Both teams can be sloppy, but I will go hot for this hot take. I know I kind of just went through those hot takes pretty fast, but they're like kind of similar. You know what I mean? I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, if you know what I'm saying. Next up is from Keyindabuilding. Browns will upset the Baltimore Ravens. So for this to happen, the Ravens are going to have, coming off the bye, right? Coming off of 2 weeks of rest, they rested their players in the last week of the regular season because they beat the Dolphins and they clinched the number 1 seed. But for Joe Flacco will be going up against his old team as well. The storylines are awesome, but back to the point where sitting your starters for 2 weeks, are they really dialed in? Not playing for 2 weeks, are they 100% in? Are they a little rusty? Typically, we see that happen once in a while. The Browns can get off to a fast start. I will be very interested to see how the Ravens play from behind. And you have Joe Flacco, a quarterback that is experienced. He knows what he's good at, but you still have John Harbaugh on the other side, and he remembers what Joe Flacco was good and bad at, maybe. So that could be a big factor. But the Browns upsetting the Ravens, man. The Ravens have just been such a darn good football team. I think this might be stemming from a place where the Ravens just can't win the playoff game. A couple years ago, they played the Titans. They didn't beat them. Just getting to the playoffs and not getting the job done. I could see that this is stemming from that, but I think the Ravens are just too good of a football team. I think the Ravens are a much better football team. Lamar Jackson is a much better quarterback. And, even than the MVP year a couple years ago, I think he's a much better quarterback from then. He's probably going to win MVP this year once again. But I think it's going to take a lot for the Browns to beat the Ravens. It's going to take a lot. The Browns could get pressure. But what's the number one thing that you could do against that Browns defense? I've said all year long. It is run the football. What do the Ravens like to do? What could the Ravens do? They could run the darn football with Lamar Jackson. They have not James Cook. What's the brother's name? Dalvin Cook. You have Gus Edwards. You have so many talented running backs, and I think Dalvin Cook is going to have himself a really nice preseason or a really nice postseason. On top of that, you have Lamar Jackson who wants to run the football. I think it's going to be really tough to the Browns to stop that run game, which has been their issue for a lot of the season, and that's going to be the reason why they get knocked out of the playoffs here. I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens, and seeing that the Browns will upset the Ravens, I'm going to go warm and say it's unlikely, but they're division rivals. You have Joe Flacco. It's a story. You never know what could happen. I'm gonna say warm. It's unlikely. I say the Browns don't upset the Ravens, but the Browns are absolutely dangerous. If Joe Flacco's been playing some really good football, and if he can continue to play that way with Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore, this game will absolutely be winnable for the Browns over the Ravens. So yeah, I'm gonna go warm with this one. Next hot take we have is from LCCJS27. He says the Ravens get upset in the divisional round. So like we were just talking about this, whether they play the Dolphins, whether they play the Browns, I don't see the Ravens losing in the divisional round. I think they'll win one playoff game, and then if you guys have seen my playoff predictions video, I actually have the Bills beating the Ravens in the conference championship and then them playing the Rams in the Super Bowl. But the Ravens getting upset in the divisional round, I think, is highly unlikely. So especially the opponents that are possible. I think they could either play the it will be the lowest remaining seed. So if somehow the Steelers win, they'll play the Ravens. And if Dolphins win, they'll play the Ravens. If the Browns win, they'll play the Ravens. I'm not really sure what other scenarios are. That might be it. But listen, man. Listen. Wait, and then who's the last division winner? If all the division winners beat the non-division winners, then you'll probably have the Texans going to Baltimore. So yeah, there's another one right there. But I don't think any team is going to beat them that is going to play them in those scenarios. The Steelers going to beat the Ravens? No, they did just beat them in the regular season, but they were sitting a lot. But I'll say I was impressed with the Steelers because the Ravens didn't. They still had a lot of starters out there. The Steelers are pretty good. Mason Rudolph looked pretty good. He made some big time plays and big time moments. Then you have the Houston Texans. They should be able to beat the Texans. The Texans and the Ravens did play week 1. If I recall correctly, and the Ravens did a very good job, but C.J. Stroud still actually looked pretty good in that game, and the Texans looked pretty good. It's just, I wouldn't be surprised if, the game would be much closer than it was earlier on. The Texans are a much better football team, but they're a little more dinged up. They're not going to have Tank Dell. If they had Tank Dell, I can see the Texans making a serious run. They could beat anybody, but having that guy out has really affected this offense. It just hasn't looked the same without Tank Dell, and CJ Stroud has still been absolutely incredible. Some play calling has been questionable at times, but without Tank Dell, you don't have that really speedy, that guy that can seriously threaten you downfield with his speed and just how well he tracks the ball and just a great deep threat. So, the Texans just don't match up well against them. The Dolphins, we just saw the Dolphins play them. It wasn't a close game. The Dolphins don't match up well against them. Who else did we say? I don't even know who else, but really, I don't think anyone else really matches up well against this Ravens team. So I'm going to go hot with this one, that the Ravens get upset in the division round. You never know. Crazy things happen. So I'm not going to go piping because the playoffs, it's the NFL playoffs, it's the NFL, it's any given Sunday for a reason, or whatever day this game is played on, any given Sunday, Saturday in this case, maybe. No, I don't think this game is on Monday. I think that's the Bucs and the Eagles, but The Ravens getting upset in the divisional round. I am going to go hot. I say it does not happen. They match up really well against the teams against any of the teams that they can possibly play. I think the team that is going to give them the most issues in the playoffs if they play them are the Buffalo Bills. And I think that they play the Bills. I think that the Bills are going to beat them, and the Bills are going to go to the Super Bowl. That is what I think is going to happen in the AFC. But that is all I got for you guys for Hot Take Tuesday. I mean, I believe that is it. Let's see. Texans. Oh, no. Yeah, we have this one. My bad. I apologize. Fishmaster 21. The Texans will beat the Browns. This is a 50-50 game, man. All the way. I wouldn't be shocked if the Texans beat the Browns or if the Browns beat the Texans. Really could go either way. The difference in this game for me is what I was just saying a couple minutes ago. Without Tank Dell, this offense has not really had that serious deep threat that can really threaten you. Tank Dell is awesome, and Nico Collins is really nice as well. He had an awesome 75-yard catch. He looked phenomenal versus the Colts, and just without Tank Dell, some of the play calling was questionable versus the Colts too. I was wondering why, the Texans were trying to run the football more, just pass the football. It's working so well. The Colts have a horrible secondary. You have one of the best quarterbacks. You had one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year in C.J. Stroud. He's a rookie. Keep throwing with that. I think that they really could have piled it on the Colts, man. I think they really could have beat them a lot worse, but it is what it is. But the Texans beating the Browns, I guess, even if you switched it and said the Browns beat the Texans, I'd probably say warm either way, or I'd probably say cool either way, because either outcome, either result is very possible. Very possible. It's just that, and then you have with the Browns, you have a really good defensive line. And, the key for the Texans to win this game is going to be running the football. If the Texans can get the run game going and then piggyback the passing game off of that run game, then the Texans have a good shot at winning this football game. Because it's much more difficult to get a stop on defense and play defense in general when the offense is running the football at a really high level. And Devin Singletary has looked really good running the football this year. Now, I don't want to see them forcing to run the football. If it's not working, it's not working. CJ Stroud will be able to make plays against that Browns defense. He's clutch. Look at Georgia last year. And just look at so many of the games this year. He clutched up in the biggest moments. And that is so impressive for a young rookie quarterback to do what he has done this year. He has had a historical year for a rookie. He's had a phenomenal year. For any quarterback, this would be a great year to have. But I think it's going to come to an end to the Browns. Because I think the Browns are going to stop the run. I think they're going to get after C.J. Stroud a little bit. I think they're going to cover Nico Collins pretty well, and someone else is going to have to step up. Dalton Schultz, he's going to have to step up. Someone else other than him is going to have to step up. Noah Brown, one of those guys. And I don't know if they're going to build. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. And I think Joe Flacco being experienced, having Amari Cooper, and that Texans defense is nice as well. The Texans defense, they're going to give up yards, but they're good in the red zone, and they're an opportunistic defense. They get turnovers. They force turnovers. They're very opportunistic, and that can be big in this game. If the Texans defense gets one or two turnovers, that could be a difference. In any playoff game, one turnover is like 3. It means that much more because it's literally the last game. If you don't win, you're done for the season, obviously. But I think the Browns are going to win this one because I think the passing defense is going to play really well. You have Nico Collins, and I don't think it's going to really be all C.J. Stroud's fault. I think C.J. Stroud's going to still have a phenomenal game. It's just kind of like a Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs kind of situation. You have Nico Collins. Patrick Mahomes doesn't even have a receiver the caliber of Nico Collins. And a lot of people are going to say Rashee Rice has been playing well. Yeah, other than Travis Kelce as well, but he's a tight end. And then back to Rashee Rice, he's had his good moments, but he is definitely not shown to be the wide receiver one, the consistent wide receiver one. But the Texans beating the Browns, I'm gonna go cool because it's very possible. I can see it happening. I can see either way in this game, but I am taking the Cleveland Browns, and I think the Browns will edge them out. I think Joe Flacco's experience, Cooper, Elijah Moore, and having a better offensive line, being able to run the football better, and playing a better defense, more complete. I think the Browns are a more complete football team, and I think that's going to be a difference. So I'm taking the Cleveland Browns. I have the Cleveland Browns, and I'm going to go I went cool for this hot take. And guys, that is it for this hot take Tuesday. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. It was a really great time. Had an awesome time, and the channel is really popping off. I mean, today, I just added the views up before I got on here. We have over 10,000 views just today. 20 subscribers once again. That's the second time in the last 3 or 4 days we got 20 subscribers in one day. And a couple days in between there, we've maybe had 10 or maybe 5, but still, it's been wild. And I appreciate you guys who have been here since day one. I appreciate every single one because I think this year really has something special. I think this year really has something in store for us. I'm pumped up. I'm excited because it's not just me that deserves it, but it's you guys who have supported us. But that's going to do it for this week's Hot Take Tuesday. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys next week.